Welcome to the Cabrera Lab podcast.
Hey,
Hello.
how are you?
I'm good.
You're not stupendo fabuloso moso
I'm
word
actually
making up?
doing awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah.
A little birdie told me that our Think It Through was very successful.
Oh, yeah?
That people
like
are
that?
appreciating these little tiny problems that we sort of think through and talk through. So we're going to do a couple more of those just for fun, because I told you I had a big list of them.
Yeah, I think people like it when you get practical.
Yes.
There's nothing more practical than a good theory. That's something people misunderstand a lot. Kurt Lewin said that. There's nothing more practical than a good theory. This is one of my big issues with when people say theory, because theory is one of the most advanced parts of science. Theory means that you have empirical evidence. It doesn't mean it's a guess.
Right.
So when you have a theory is like a really powerful tool because it's so practical. You can launch rockets and get them back, and you can do all these things with theories. But people, generally in the public sphere, people use the word theory almost like hypothesis.
Well,
So it's like a guess.
not only that, people very much separate theory and practice.
Yeah.
And they don't see them
It doesn't
as
even make any sense.
connected or integrated in any way. There's people who are theorists and there are people who are practitioners.
Yeah.
But there's no sort of barbell in between them of interaction, which is a little bit strange.
It's totally strange. It doesn't make any sense. We say, oh, well, it makes sense theoretically, but it's impractical. It's like, well, then it's a terrible theory. If it's impractical, then it's not a good theory. In fact, because I'm a theorist, technically, a lot of people will use that pejoratively, like, oh, he's a theorist.
Meaning you just pontificate.
I just pontificate and blah, blah, blah. But a theorist is truly the most practical person there is because they're looking for the essential things that need to be known in order to get something done or to understand something at a deep level. And so, when I came to systems thinking, I came as a mountaineer. I was like a, blue-collar mountaineer. I didn't ever think I'd be a theorist or a academic or any of that, a scientist or anything like that. But I wanted to solve something that needed to be solved.
And here we are.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't have done any of this if it wasn't for the practical need.
Yes, absolutely.
Of solving, the problems that I was dealing with.
Right, which gets to today, which is we're going to take this amazing theory and the practice of it to actually solve some problems.
There's a reason, by the way, that, auto mechanics and quantum mechanics have the same term, mechanics.
Do you want to say more?
I'm just saying, there's a lot of similarity. It's like, what are the mechanics of the thing? Obviously, we're talking about machines in that case, but what are the mechanics of the thing, right? And, I've always said that, some of the smartest people I've ever met are auto mechanics. They figure stuff out. They solve stuff. They figure stuff out that nobody understands why it's not working, and then they'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And make it work, right? And so some of the most challenging, areas of science are figuring out the mechanics of how things work. And it's no mistake that those two terms linguistically are the same, because theory and practice should never be separated. And as soon as you separate them, then you don't understand them.
Right. And it's just, it's an arbitrary separation.
It's totally arbitrary.
In many ways.
Yeah.
Okay. I have a couple of fun stories of problems we need to solve and think through.
Yeah.
And I'm going to read it to you because I think that's easier.
Okay.
All right. This is one that's very common. We've actually worked on this in the room with a lot of people, which is there's a market growth goal. Let's say 7% for Acme Corp, right? So leadership announces a bold goal. We're targeting 7% market share growth this year. Teams are happy, but no one knows how that number connects to real systems. Marketing, sales, and operations each start chasing their own version of growth, creating friction instead of focus. So the question is, how do you deal with that set of perspectives on the same thing? And how do you reduce that friction when you're trying to move forward with a big initiative?
Yeah. So, I mean, the simple thing is if you've got marketing,
sales, and operations,
the market increases by 7%. Is that right? Market growth increases 7% in this year. Yeah. So that's, an object, and it's a mental model in a sense. And then you've got these three perspectives. that see it differently, right? So we could make, instead of writing it over here, we can write it as a perspective circle, right? So we've got this perspective and this perspective and this perspective. These are just little eyeballs. It doesn't matter what you use. But so this is marketing, this is sales, and this is operations. And the first step is that they're all seeing it differently. They're all seeing what is this thing? What does it mean? What do we have to do? All kinds of questions. But the more important thing, other than all those litany of questions that come to each of these groups, is that each of these groups see it very differently. So they're looking at the same view from different points. So right now, what we have right now is we have 3 different distinctions, 3 different is not lists. This one, if you did is not about what this thing means, they would have one. And then this one would have one, and then this one would have one. So we're not even clear on what the distinction is of what this thing is. We don't have a collective shared distinction.
We don't have a shared mental model of what it is. Yeah.
And secondly, it might actually be good that we have 3 different distinctions if we can bring them together, right? So we have 3 different is not lists. And that's okay. Marketing should have a different perspective on this but the problem is, one, the other ones don't know about the other 2.
Right. They're operating as if that's the one.
They're operating as if this is the thing.
Right.
And the second thing is there's no relationships between these 3. And the first relationship is to see what the other people see. And if we just create a collective distinction that includes all the different things that they see, and they all see it together, and they cancel out things that are conflicting and all that kind of stuff, and then we create relationships between them, this is a solvable problem.
Right, and let's talk about the detail of that. So, for example, I know you and I were recently in the room with a bunch of executives working on a similarly structured problem. And a lot of the question was, okay, so how do we reconcile 3 different perspectives on the same thing, like at the ground level? How do we know what to keep and what not to keep to build something that everybody agrees on? Because that's a huge problem in workforce, is getting everybody on the same page without huge.
Okay, so that's a really important question. I want to make sure that we understand that basically what we have here is not lists. We have a P circle, a perspective circle, and we have a part party, and those 3 moves have essentially created this.
Yes.
And now the question is, let's zoom into this thing. If we can assemble these 3 perspectives in the room, and we can get them to build one big model that includes these 3 is not lists. Right? So now we have, marketing says this, and sales says this, and operations says this, and we use these perspectives to generate it. Now, this is a slightly more advanced move than the 6 initial moves, right? And so this is marketing, sales, operations. We call this, you're going to love this one. We call this P Gen S drop P.
Okay, let's slow down because
that's the name of the move.
P Gen S drop P, which means perspective generates a system.
Yep.
And then you're going to talk us
drop the perspective.
Okay, so let's go.
So the perspectives where you got these people in the room, or the leaders, or whoever you want in the room, representing these 3, in order to generate this system. So the perspectives they're generative of the system that has all these parts to it.
Yeah, and just to be clear, the parts, when we say parts, we mean the mental model that is market growth of 7%.
Yes.
So these are all
people. This is all market growth
7%.
Of increase of 7%. And this is marketing's version of it, and what marketing says when they think this, and this is what sales says when they think this, and this is what operations says when they think this.
Yeah, right.
In a sense, these are is not lists. What this is and what it's not.
Right.
But there's a lot of detail in here, right? These are several meanings and things like that. Okay. So now what we're doing is we're generating this whole system of parts using these perspectives.
Right.
And then here's the part that people don't do is now erase the perspectives. And now take all the people in marketing and all the people in sales and all the people in operations, and those people are all on the same team and say, okay, solve this. Not solve your world,
Right.
solve the world.
Right.
Because this is the reality of your sales, marketing, and operations system. Right. Solve this world.
Right.
Right? And everybody works on solving this world. So this gets to your initial question, which is, what if I have something here that conflicts with something down here?
Right.
Okay, solve for that.
Yes.
Solve for that conflict between this thing and this thing, not between marketing and sales. That's not a conflict between marketing and sales. That's a conflict between this thing and this thing that they're incompatible.
Right.
And they're going to be incompatible as a system. Mm-hmm. So you have two parts of the system that are going to fight each other.
Right.
We don't want that. And we don't want it in the perspectives, because in the perspectives, you'll have marketing people go, well, that's more important. And the sales people will go, well, that's more important.
It becomes about my perspective.
It becomes about my perspective, not our problem.
Right, which is shaped by our collective perspective. Let me have a colored pen.
Sure.
So I want to show you one of the things that I was talking about with this group of people is often you'll have this huge list, but you can just say, oh, look, we agree.
Yeah, they cancel out
70% of this.
Sure.
So then all of your effort is just in these moments, like when there's conflicts.
That's absolutely right.
And sometimes, Derek, the conflict is this and this are actually kind of the same thing, but we're just using different words for them.
Sometimes that's the case,
right?
Yeah.
So there's all kinds of ways to think that through a little bit.
So the net of this is you're going to get a better understanding of what this system looks like, this system that generates market growth of 7% this year. Mm-hmm. And not only that, but you're going to get shared buy-in and a sharing of the whole mental model by everybody. Mm-hmm. And that's those are important things for actually implementing, right? It's really that simple. You've got is not lists. Mm-hmm. Well, that's one move. You got P circle. That's another move. You got party. That's another move. And then you've got P gen S drop P. That's a slightly more advanced move. We've discovered over 204 moves, but 6 of them are the most important. And you'll use the big 6 are the most important. But after you've learned the 6 and practiced the 6, then you can start to learn more advanced moves that like this one that we see all the time. Like, I mean, how many executives teams have needed P Gen S drop P? Like all of them.
I would say all of them. Okay, so here's the next thing. So let's say this is now an agreed upon mental model by all of these people. Just maybe there's like 6 parts to it. Then it seems to me, at the more operational or tactical level, you want to reintroduce those perspectives, because like, okay, what part of this am I working on? What part are you because you have to divide the labor. Sure.
So you could take if you wanted to do that, you could take a marketing perspective and say, okay, marketing is blue or something like that, right? And then you could say, okay, so all in our new model, which isn't going to look like the old model, our new model might look like this thing leads to this thing, which then leads to this thing, which contains these things, blah, 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 and then feedbacks to this thing. Right. Then this marketing perspective in blue is going to have some of this, and it's going to be responsible for this relationship.
Right.
And then it's going to, be responsible for this relationship.
Right.
And then, sales is going to be with red or something like that. This is the sales thing and this relationship. Mm-hmm. So now actually sales and marketing own a piece of this relationship because it's a handoff and that type of thing. You can reintroduce that perspective to figure out who's driving what and all that kind of stuff and your KPIs and all that.
Right. And that means as you're having leadership meetings, operational meetings, you start with the overarching goal, and then you report on, well, here's the progress we've made on this piece. Mm-hmm. Here's the progress I've made on this piece, and so forth. So in a nice way, it's interesting because you drop the perspective to get the shared mental model, but then you have to reintroduce it to sort of operationalize or bring it to a tactical level, right? Totally. Which I think is common.
And by the way, so common that if we erase all of the content, right, and we erase the people, right, and we erase all this, and, you could have 2 perspectives, which is your son and your parents, and on driving.
Yeah.
and the dangers I'm a parent, so I say dangers, but the different, what does driving look like
Yeah.
at 17 or 18? This person's going to say it's this and it's this and it's this. It's freedom, it's independence. And then the parents are going to say, well, it's dangerous. It's, terrifying and all this kind of stuff. I worry at night and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And then same thing, erase the perspectives and solve for this. And what do you do with a system that is both liberating and freeing and fun and also dangerous? And what do you do with that system? And solve it together. Mm-hmm. What are we going to do with that system?
And come up with a shared mental model that is comfortable for both.
Yep.
And allows for both.
Yep.
This episode is brought to you by STSI, the Systems Thinking Standards Institute.
Yes, super excited to work with STSI, raising the standard for 8 billion systems thinkers, science-based standards, training, the professional systems thinking credential, accreditation for organizations, the systems thinking or thinker toolkit. And so I really encourage folks to go to stsi.pro, take the trainings, get the credentials, get your organization accredited, get the toolkit. Yeah. It's good stuff.
Help us get to 8 billion.
And it's a 501c3 nonprofit.
Don't forget that.
It's a great partner. So that same structural process applies as much for a team of executives trying to figure out this goal as it does for a parent and child trying to figure out this goal.
Right.
And that's why structural thinking or DSRP kinds of thinking or the moves or whatever you want to call it is so powerful because you can just use it and you get better at it. And it just comes very quickly once you practice these things, and you can quickly understand where's the rub.
Yeah, the tension.
Where's the tension? What is actually getting in the way here? Oh, it's just like these things aren't relating, or they're different perspectives. Okay, well, once you know that, then it's pretty simple to solve.
Yeah. No, I love that. I love that you brought it back to the driving because I think there are a lot of people in the world that are dealing with that right now.
Yeah.
Teenagers driving, which is terrifying.
Well, and the beauty is when we train like our executive groups and stuff like that, the thing I love the most is when I get emails that say like, hey, I know you were teaching this stuff in trying to solve big corporate problems.
Yeah.
But I hope it's okay. I used it with my wife the other day, or I used it with my son the other day, or I used it with my friend the other day that was having an issue.
Yeah.
And it's like, those are the emails I love.
Yeah, because that means they're seeing the structure.
They're seeing the structure across, not the content. It's kind of irrelevant what the content is.
Interesting. I think that's great. All right, so I've got another one. But we're going to move from the professional to the personal.
To the personal.
Yeah. It's about healthy habits, right? So one sibling is trying to encourage the other to eat healthier. But every conversation ends the same way. I don't have time to cook. Fast food feels easier, even though it fuels exhaustion. Both of the siblings are frustrated, one about choices and the other about circumstances, right? So the question is, how do you understand that system of unhealthy habits and not blaming the person as much as the system, right? So how do you deal with one sister's time, energy, and food choices without imposing, it's not about my mental model is right and your mental. How do you sort of shift that thinking?
Well, I mean, this is very similar to what we just talked about, right? If I understand the problem, maybe I don't. But so you have sibling 1 and sibling 2, and they have perspectives, right?
Yeah.
And their perspectives are conflicting. So there's this relationship of conflict. And so the problem is that conflict, right? That,
Yeah.
That's where we're saying there's a problem that they don't like, that they keep conflicting. Is that right?
They keep conflicting. And this one is completely focused on, I'm too busy. I don't have time to cook. And this one is like, you don't have time not to cook because you're literally exhausting yourself, right?
Yeah. So they're looking at food choices and health and all this kind of stuff in here. And one of them's looking at it from the perspective of, I need it to be easy. I need it to be fast. Mm-hmm. I need it to be, what other things? Well, is that the main thing
I think it's
she's
easy,
focused
fast, and also I guess one of the things that's interesting is this one thinks that this is creating energy because it's food. So this one's version of energy is different than this one's version.
Yeah,
it's
so
like short
because
energy.
it's food, it's like it is.
Short-term
I need
energy.
energy, right? And this one is energy,
Right.
and they're focused on health. And what else are they focused on?
Reducing stress and trying to get this one out of the loop of feeling like this is the only option.
This one is worried about this one.
Yeah, this one is worried about this one, and sees this sort of reinforcing loop of stress and bad choices, which is just creating exhaustion and stress, which is just creating more stress and bad choices. So they're in like a reinforcing loop. And this one doesn't know how to get this one to see it. Seems simple, but it's actually kind of...
Yeah, that's a good one. So are we saying this one, I mean, without knowing the situation, I'd need to know a little bit more. Like, is the conflict being created because this person is trying to control this person?
No.
Or are they just trying to
This person
care
is
for
worried
this person?
about this one. This person is literally in a loop they can't see.
They can't see. Okay. So they're in this
and the loop is reinforcing itself.
And they're complaining about it.
Yes.
They're saying, I'm exhausted.
This person is not
I don't have
happy.
energy.
Yes.
Don't feel
Yes.
good about my body, all that kind of stuff. And then they keep making these choices.
Right. And they
these
can't break the
choices are
cycle.
going in the cycle. And when this sibling talks to them about it, do they not understand it? Or can they just not get the...
They don't see the reinforcement of the loop.
Oh,
right?
they don't see
They
that
don't
this
see
is
that,
related.
No, they don't see that the current exhaustion and the stress is causing the fast food choice, which is reinforcing
Got it.
the health.
Okay.
Right?
So we have basically a feedback loop, right? And we have two perspectives.
Right.
So this is just a P circle, a perspective circle with a relational loop,
Object, yeah.
right? So this is a party, essentially. It's two parts with relationships. And this is sibling 2 and this is sibling 1. And this is, your food and health choices and your how you feel.
Yeah, your outcomes.
So this has some parts and this has some parts. Here's the magic. So this is blue. So we'll do green here, right? So green sees this and this. Blue sees this and this and this and this.
Right.
So the starting point of this problem, right? Because you are also defining the problem here is the conflict. We're ending in conflict over this. And the starting point of that conflict is literally what is seen by green and what is seen by blue.
Right. So does that mean then the first step is trying to get this one to see the relationships that they're missing? Maybe you send them... No,
that's not the starting point.
What's the starting
because
point?
That's trying to convince them of your perspective.
Yeah.
The starting point is to get them to see this.
Oh, I see. That they're conflicting over a different mental model of these things.
That the conflict is because they see different things.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's not about this person sees it right and this person doesn't. It's about this person sees it one way and this person sees it another. And by the way, when you show this model to this person, they might say, well, what you don't see is some things that I see. There's some other mediating variables, like I have a job and I have, I don't know who these
You're
people
not
are.
supposed to know.
But maybe they have a different set of circumstances.
Maybe they work night shift.
Maybe they work night
have
shift.
different
Maybe they,
hours.
whatever.
Right.
So they would add their parts to it, and then you would build. It's the same problem we just went through, right? It's a P circle on a system. Let's build it together.
Yes.
And then let's at least see what the system looks like when we both look at it.
Right. And I think the nice thing is, because I know these two, they want this to not be. They want.
Yes.
They both don't want to be conflicting.
Yes.
Right. So that's sort of your entry point, which is, look, your sisters. You want to get along. You want to support each other. So let's start with we're both motivated to reduce this level of friction and conflict, which might make them then open to seeing the difference in how they're thinking and to listen.
Yeah, but did you notice the difference is that there's a huge difference between let me show you my perspective,
Yeah.
and let me show you our kind of the system that we're in and
Yes.
why we're conflicting.
Yes.
We're conflicting because we're seeing different things. Those are quite different approaches in my
Yes.
book.
Yes, and I fell right into the normative trap, which is, well, this one has to
If
see
I could
this
just show
one.
her what I see,
Yeah.
then everything's going to be fine. Because we all know as soon as I argue my point, everything is resolved, right?
Right.
So, but we want to avoid that. We want to kind of go up, zoom out a little bit,
Yeah.
and be like, let's both look at us.
Yes.
Let's be as I posted on LinkedIn the other day, let's be the Jane Goodall to our monkeys.
Yes.
To our chimps,
Yes.
and let's look at our two little chimp-like relationship and what we're doing to each other.
Yeah.
Let's both sit back and take a look at what we're doing
Without judgment.
no. I mean that's the beauty of Jane Goodall. She loved those chimps,
observed
and
them.
she just observed them, and she just got so much out of observing them, and there was no judgment. It's just like, oh, no wonder you're conflicting.
Right.
Right?
Right.
You see these things and you see these things, and okay, let's build a world which maybe includes what we're both seeing.
Yes, and also I liked what you said also, which is they're both going to have more parts
Yes.
to each thing in
I
the
guarantee
in the
you.
model, the mental model. And actually it's through delineating those parts
Yes.
that they're going to come to understand each other's perspective and be able to solve for that, right?
Yeah.
Like there might be something going on this one, in this one's life that this one just doesn't see until they have this conversation. And then she can say, oh, I can help you with that. Or I don't
And it
know.
might be that one of them has, I mean, hopefully she is able to see this, but maybe this one needs to see some other things that she's not seeing.
Yeah.
I need to know a little bit more about the situation, but I mean, I think this is a starting point for understanding the basic structure of the problem.
Yes. And I think the
And
only,
again, sorry.
That's okay.
Again, I really want to be clear. All we're using here is perspective circle, part party. We might need to use a little bit of is not.
and you've got an RD here.
Yep. Is not to
Yeah.
zoom into what we mean by healthy choices and not healthy choices and how we feel and all that kind of stuff. We've got an RD.
Which they should
Barbell.
make into an S.
Yep, which they should make into an S.
Yeah.
So that would be adding parts to this conflict.
Understand it.
Again, same set of moves, and you're getting at the root of the issue.
Yeah, I mean, I think the other overarching thing about this is it's not just about, it's about the unit of analysis for the conversation becomes the conflict and the mental model, not the two people, right?
And their positions.
and their- yeah, right.
Like,
Yeah.
it's not about who's right. It's about why are we conflicting? Oh, we're conflicting because I see green and you see blue.
Mm-hmm.
And blue is different than green.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And also, I think the thing that's really important to me, because we talked about this a lot, is when you have conversations at the level of mental models, it's the only place where you can really deeply understand and connect to another person's experience, what they're literally thinking, the meaning that they're assigning to to a situation. Because I'm sure that this one thinks this one's being judgmental, and this one thinks this one's being careless or reckless or whatever. And the truth is, they're motivated by love for each other. They don't want to conflict. They want what's best for the other one, and that won't come out until you get underneath the surface of just that we conflict, that we conflict about X and Y.
Yeah, and if you're being Jane Goodall, maybe the truth is that everything you just said is true. Mm-hmm. They love each other and they want to do better, and maybe they also want to be right.
Well, most people want to be right.
Yeah, exactly, right. So as chimps will do, they want to be right. Yeah. So we have to take that into account. They don't want to be, or they don't want to be wrong. which is a little different.
Right, but I think when you move to the level of what's my mental model, what's yours,
Yeah, you
can be both.
You can be both.
We can
They're
both be right and
wrong. And that really comes down to this idea I talk about a lot, which is like we're never really right or wrong. We're right and wrong.
Yeah.
There's some portion of our mental model that is probably pretty accurate, aligned with reality.
Yeah.
And then there's some other portion that is out of alignment. And so we're both right and wrong. And both people usually are a little bit right and a little bit wrong.
Yeah.
And so the idea is to try to get righter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Get more, and I don't even like the word right and wrong. I like aligned with reality, but it's kind of a mouthful. But
that means you have to be open to being a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Which is reality and which is fine. Which is the only way you're going to reconcile these kinds of things.
Does that do that one?
I think that was an interesting one. I think it's a common problem. I think actually we're very, I will say in families in particular, we're very opinionated about other people's choices. We had a guest who was working on eating habits with their 8-year-old.
Yeah.
And, we think about the eating habits of our grandchildren and our children.
Sure.
So it's like it's an area where there's room for a little bit of sort of judgment and conflict that actually doesn't have to be so.
Yeah, I mean the last piece that I would say here is we're drawing it. Mm-hmm. And drawing it has all kinds of benefits. We call that OOT, object-oriented thinking. So we say OOT it. Whether you draw it or whether you build it with blocks, you can use the blocks to build it. And you can use pens for relationships. And, so you can build this and build this. And, when you physicalize it, when you make it tangible and movable, it has a huge effect. So when I see people who are in conflict in particular, but really all the time, but conflict in particular, who are talking the conflict, that is a recipe for disaster. If you build the conflict, then you can differentiate. If you talk the conflict, it's going to go so fast. And you're going to get so many things are going to get conflated and bound up that you're going to not know what direction's up anymore.
Right, but talking also keeps you at the surface level of the information.
Yes.
Talking doesn't get you to the underlying structure of what we're thinking.
100%.
Right? We're just focused on what we're saying rather than the structure of what we're thinking about as we're saying it. Yeah. Which is why this is so useful.
And that's kind of that's such a huge point because in this particular situation, the conflict is about healthy choices and this and that and the other thing, but really it's a structural conflict. It's like one perspective sees one way and another perspective sees another way, and those two ways of seeing it are conflicting.
Yes.
You don't even have to talk about what the conflict is about to understand that structure.
Right.
And so the structure is conflictual.
Yeah, so you have to reconcile that structure.
Exactly.
And then you can get to I want to say solution, but I mean it's more like an agreement and understanding.
Yeah, it's a solution.
Because understanding
is a huge solution.
Understanding.
A lot of times everything dissipates when there's understanding. You go, oh, okay, well, there's no more conflict.
Yeah. That's right. All
right. Well, that's a wrap.